On the road. Okay. Welcome. Good morning. My name is George Bell. I am your host and organizer for 1 Million Cups Chico. We got our special guest for today. We got our crew. Let's go ahead and get started. 1 Million Cups was created by the Kauffman Foundation with the mission to support entrepreneurs by providing education, engagement, and connection within local communities. What started as a small program in Kansas City back in 2012 has now grown to over 163 communities, including right here in Chico, California. At its core, 1 Million Cups is a free program designed to empower and connect local entrepreneurs. It's a space where individuals can come together to share ideas, seek feedback, and learn from one another. The goal of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barriers of access to education and resources for all entrepreneurs. With that being said, I would like to introduce our special guest, Scott Holman. But before we do that, we have our 6-minute presentation, 20-minute Q&A session, then we'll do a quick wrap up and we'll be good to go. If you are interested in joining our 1 Million Cups community and looking to see some of the presentations that we have coming up in the future, or even present yourself, feel free to check us out at 1millioncups.com/Chico. Without further ado, I was so excited I jumped the gun a bit, but let's go ahead and introduce Scott Holman from RedLine Safety.
Good morning, everybody.
I'll go ahead and give you a chance to queue up your slides. Let me go ahead and drop mine real quick. Awesome. Perfect.
Okay. Am I up?
All right, sounds good.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Scott Holman. I'm founder and CEO of RedLine Safety, where we build advanced wearable technology for firefighters that monitors their location, environmental conditions, toxic gas exposure, and vital signs in real time. And this information will help keep firefighters safe, improve incident management operations, better protect communities from wildfire, and with widespread adoption, ultimately improve the insurability profile of homeowners. So as a 30+ year veteran of the fire service, I've had a lot of friends and coworkers die in the line of duty, and many more get sick and be forced into retirement. When this event occurred, it was a tragedy in 2013. We studied it in a class, and I came away from it realizing that the fire service was in need of a serious upgrade and technological advancement. What we found during the investigation is that firefighters, there was no system in place to track a firefighter's location and environmental conditions, their exposures, their biometric data. There was so much information that was missing, especially when you had these gigantic mega fires that were plaguing our country. So we decided that we needed to spend a little bit of time trying to come up with solutions. In fact, this is how a lot of these incidents are managed, just in the back of a vehicle with a dry erase board, writing down resource locations from radio traffic. That was unacceptable to us. So what we've done is we've built a technology that does all the things that we're lacking in all these investigations, where we can track where they are, how they're doing. We can improve the communication capability. We can store this data. We can use it for later. And what we decided to do is we decided to turn every firefighter into a massive data collection resource in real time. And we do that by building advanced wearable technology for them. This one, for example, is designed for all hazards, hazmat responses, building fires, things like that, packet full of sensors. We designed one specifically for wildland fire operations. It's a little bit more lighter weight, cost effective, still provides incredibly important real-time critical incident information. We partnered with vendors such as Garmin to build a biometric collection, basically a fitness watch that also Bluetooths over to those other wearables in real time so that we can monitor a firefighter's health and well-being. In fact, during proof of concept testing years ago, when we were first getting started, we actually saved a 24-year-old firefighter's life by identifying a life-threatening heart problem that he had to have corrected with surgery. The only reason why we knew that is because we were monitoring his biometric signature during firefighting operations, which can't be duplicated or in any way on a treadmill. We take all this data, we put it in the cloud, we put it on our dashboard so everybody can see it in real time. We've got a variety of different map overlays on our dashboard. You can get all kinds of different maps, but all the data is seen as it's happening around the perimeter of a fire. In areas that don't have cellular connectivity or limited connectivity, we've built a first of its kind deployable LoRaWAN communication network. This is one of the gateways that gets positioned around a fire, either on a vehicle or on a tripod with a solar panel, so it can operate autonomously. It connects through LoRaWAN, which is a long-range, low-power, wide area network frequency. It connects to these communication trailers that we built that can be positioned around fires. They're lightweight, can easily helicoptered into a hilltop. They operate autonomously. We connect to the cloud via Starlink. This is just an example of how these gateways and communication trailers interact. Mesh networking connects all resources together, so you really only need one unit connected to the cloud to be able to get all the data from all the wares. Done some work with the back of a command vehicle. You can see it's a little bit cleaner back there. Instead of a dry erase board, displays all the data in real time. It makes for better decision making and more efficient operations. So this is how it works. We get all resources, and this is scalable. Our technology can be placed on helicopters, bulldozers. It can be placed on law enforcement officers, utility workers. So whoever's on the incident is gathering the data. They get it in the cloud to be seen on our dashboard, either directly through or communication gateway. Once in the cloud, all resources that can access who has connection. It's iOS, Android. It's web-based. So as long as you have an internet connection, you don't need anything else special to access the data. A lot of benefits, increased firefighter safety, there's training things, but one of the best things that we found in going out and talking with other organizations is that they love how it connects all the other agencies on a single operating platform. Because on any single fire, you may have, 5 to 10 different resources coming from, 4 or 5 or even more agencies. And this puts everybody on the same operating network. For example, the Eagles, they're a global collective of medical directors across the US, Australia, New Zealand, European countries, and Pacific Rim countries. And they make up all the 911 cardiovascular respiratory care protocols. And they've embraced this technology because they said they can take this and they can put it in with the data that we're collecting. Because when you start getting down to it, the data we're collecting is like nothing anybody's ever collected. But you can study it. You can study the effects of firefighting on the human body and find out why firefighters have a life expectancy 10 years less than the average person. When that statistic became available to us, that was another one of these moments where it's like, okay, we need to do something about it. The Eagles have decided they wanted to work with us, gather the data, and come up with solutions. One of the things with regard to firefighter health and wellness is that of mental health. One of the blind sides or blind spots to firefighter health and wellness that's starting to get a lot more attention is that of PTSD. And with our embedded analytics, we can detect the signs of PTSD in firefighters. Because our system is autonomous, the communication system can operate all by itself, independently of any other connected resources. This system can work in other natural disasters beyond just those of wildfire. On the way, we've had some great traction. Like I said, during proof of concept, we saved a firefighter's life. Our technology is now being embedded in a Cal State UC San Diego program to do fire predictive modeling. Homeland Security gave us $150,000 to develop that technology. El Dorado County has given us some funding to do some pilot testing here, and we have 2 letters of intent with the Los Rios Community College system down here in Sacramento, because what they want to do is they want to start getting this technology at the most formative part of a firefighter's career, which is in their fire academy. Here's an article that Homeland Security just put out on August 8th. It's about it showcases our technology, even though it's more about their program with the UC San Diego Y-Fire project. But it talks about the technology that we embedded with them and the value of the data that's collected. So that just came out. Pretty exciting. Got a fantastic team of engineers. Our CFO handles all of our legal and finance stuff. I mean, it's just there's so many things that are working out really well with this team. We've got an advisory board of physicians. It's just a terrific operation that's really supported by those team members you just saw. Anyway, that's how we're saving the world. Appreciate the opportunity to kind of tell you more about it. And here's my contact information if anybody has any interest in following up. And that's my thing.
Amazing.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and drop in gallery view real quick, and then we'll see if our community has any questions for you, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Anyone? Scott, would this be also used for the military?
Yeah, there's farther on there's discussions about applications to law enforcement and military. Military currently uses a tracking system called Blue Force, which is a satellite-based tracking system. But the problem with satellite technology is you have to kind of be it's temperamental. And those returning from the Iraq War that I used to work with were saying that, yeah, it's great, but boy, it's temperamental. You can't be underneath a tree. You have to be out in the open. It takes a little while for it to engage. It's a great technology for the time, but I believe that time has passed. And I think implementing the system that we have is much more contemporary and robust. So, but we're going to focus on the fire service, and then we'll scale into those other industries as the technology matures. But yes, there's definitely an application.
Where are you producing the units? Where are they being made?
Well, they're made in the U.S. Homeland Security, we're a veteran-owned, made in the U.S. Brings the costs up a little bit. But right now, I think our last round, we do manufacturing in Reno, Austin, Texas, and San Diego. There's a company down there that we've done manufacturing with. So, but we're keeping it all in the U.S.
Awesome.
I have a question. Hey, Scott, my name is Jason. I was curious, first, are there added resources on say the fire site or the incident site to read this information out, or is that a job that's being trained within the current sort of staff at a fire?
You mean, do they have dedicated resources to view and analyze and interact with it? Is that
right? Yeah. Is that part of the training? Do they have an analyst that's there helping to set up the equipment and read in and provide reports to leadership at that point? Or is that something that leadership is being trained on as an addition to their current role?
Well, currently, I think what's good about this is that it's scalable and can fit into anybody's operating system. Whoever is doing it, I think on the larger fires, of course, you would probably want to have multiple people monitoring the data that's coming in. But we've also simplified it to on smaller, more isolated incidents. A single person ought to be able to manage all the resources very well. But as as an incident grows in complexity, then yeah, it's easily scalable to be able to add in additional people into the operation plan. So, and I think one of the advantages that we have is I've been in the industry, so kind of understand how firefighters operate and how they appreciate the simplicity of technology when the complexity of the incident is growing. And that's how we've designed this, is that it's supposed to be easy to use. And when it comes to data saturation, it's also we've put features in it that you can filter out a lot of the distracting data and give yourselves a much more simplified operational picture in real time. So it's, every department's going to want to be able to probably do their own thing, and it's designed with that individuality of operational necessity in mind that we've created this.
Awesome. Well, I had a question, Scott. So, I was kind of curious just to kind of like, you kind of touched on it a bit, but kind of just like a little more of your inception story, or like, what made you come up with the idea, and kind of like your experience, and why you felt like this was a problem that needed to be solved.
Well, it started when I was taking a class in advanced wildland management operations when I was preparing to take a promotional test, and we studied that line of duty death investigation. And of course, this was, years back, and my understanding of technology was rather limited, so I was kind of disappointed. And to be honest, the industry, when these events happen, they do a really good job supporting families and other things, but we don't really ask ourselves very often, okay, so how did that happen, and how do we avoid that next time? How do we make sure that this loss is not in vain? So at a break, I went and called my son, who was a computer science student at San Jose State University, and he pretty much the only one that I really knew that understood and knew anything about technology. And I told him my disappointment, and I said, there's got to be something out there. And so I called him at the next break. He goes, I did a search and I couldn't find anything, but maybe we can make something. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, well, the components are pretty cheap. It's only like $5 for a GPS module and $4 for an air temperature. So I sent him $500, and he soldered something together, and he came to the house a few weeks later. In fact, here it is. So I keep this with me. So this is what he came up with.
Oh.
And I go, okay. And he showed me on his phone how it tracked his movements and monitored his environment and all this other stuff. I go, this is great. I go, and he put up all the different sensors and all the little, the board that he used and all this stuff. And I'm going, great. Not because I'm a software guy, you need a hardware. So I go, okay, I don't know any hardware people. And he goes, neither do I. So I put it in a shoebox, and it sat there for like 8 to 10 months because I had no idea how to move this forward, until I'm standing at a store, our local grocery store, and a elementary school teacher that I kind of didn't even really know just walked right up to me. And the first thing she said, I was talking to one of our neighbors. She goes, my dad's an electrical engineer. And I go, who are you? And she identified who she was. And I go, okay, does that mean hardware? I mean, I was just out of the blue. So that's where we started. It started with me looking at my friends and coworkers dying and getting sick and going, this industry just needs something. And so as we started working with other people and having conversations and deciding, hey, what does the industry need? What can we do? We realized that it was our imagination at the time that was keeping us, that's our only limitation, is we just need to start imagining things. So that's what we started doing. We started networking and building conversations and adding technology. And again, that was years ago. And when I went to this conference last week, we're still at the forefront of this thought process, which is really good for us, but it's still kind of disappointing that, you'd think technology innovators would jump on these opportunities, but they just haven't. And I'm I'm grateful to be in this position to be, one of the creators of what they identified last week as one of the best innovative solutions to come in a generation for firefighting. So anyway, that's
Awesome.
it. That's the long version of the short story, I guess, that you asked.
Very good. That's awesome.
So we kind of talked a little bit ahead of time, but you're continuing to do some other relevant trade shows to put the product out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Fire shows. We're doing fire shows west next month. There's a disasters expo in a couple weeks down in LA that I may go down. Tech Summit International in December. So they're starting to stack up. FDIC is the big one, and that's in Indiana, I think, in April next year. So last week was a really good glimpse into the value of going. I'd been told this for a long time, and I finally experienced it, and we're headed back right away.
Hi, Scott, another question here. Was curious about, so you make these, like the mobile repeaters, right? And I guess you could call them, how many do you keep on hand? Like, say, as you need to scale up, what is sort of the cost of manufacturing or making those? And then do you rent them, or does, like, say, CAL FIRE buy them from you?
Well, the idea is that all the hardware would be purchased. We've discussed options for lease, for the business model to lease things, but our business model right now involves three main parts: hardware sales, a SaaS, and the data analytics. I've had people say there's a way you can monetize the data that you're collecting, which I think is important. But our focus is mainly, of course, on the hardware sales and the SaaS. The hardware sales, I think we're leaning more towards just kind of selling it at cost, getting it in the hands of people, and using the value of that SaaS model to really reinforce the financial aspects of the operation. When it comes to those gateways, the idea is that they would be sold and owned by all the departments and providers. We would have a supply on hand, and then with that, when it comes to like the comm station, that has to have a SaaS attached to it, because that involves Starlink and other communication connection needs. So yeah, no, it would be owned by all the departments, and then they could either magnetically mount them to vehicles as necessary, or they could place them, set it up relatively easy on their own. But we would have, backup. We would have, of course, tech support. We would have also resources in the area that would assist and be deployed on incidents.
Yeah, thank you. Does, so from your SaaS model, I'm assuming you're going like subscription model.
Yes.
With that, is there a one size fits all or a custom, or like, say, like, hey, CAL FIRE says, I want this across the board, and each region will have a subscription to this, or and then this is what each region gets? Or how are you diversifying your offer, such as features and functionality within that, and users? And because it sounds fairly complex, certainly what you're doing is very complex, and across different departments and that scalability.
Well, when it comes to the SaaS, the early decisions that we were talking about were, a monthly fee per person of probably around $10 per person. However, others had said, hey, if you have larger departments like CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, or even some of these smaller departments, that maybe it would be considered into a range. Like, if you have 0 to 50 members, it's X amount per person per month. And as it gets larger, the price drops. And so we've had discussions on a lot of variety of different SaaS models. And I think right now, I think if someone says, well, you have to decide right now, then we would just say, hey, it's $10 a person per month, per unit. And so, that would be a simplified version of it, but I think we would want to probably negotiate and be open. We're a very lean company. I think I think in order for us to be revenue positive, we only need like 1,000 or 1,200 users in the system, and we're revenue positive. So we have a lot of flexibility on the pricing model, and I think most departments, every department would tell you we don't have the money to be able to add anything additional to it. So our relationship with Homeland Security has said that once we're finished testing, of course, in that paper that they published was kind of like an indication that they think that they're done testing, but that they would approach the U.S. Fire Administration to have FEMA provide grants and funding opportunities for departments to help them ease that burden of initial costs of getting the system, because Homeland Security, this technology is embedded in a counterterrorism project to combat pyroterrorism. And so that there's a financial incentive on behalf of the federal government that they said that they want to step in. So we haven't seen that yet, but in the absence of that, then originally is what we were talking about is what our business model is. So we'll see what happens with them.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. We got a couple questions from our chapter lead, Eva Shepard. She asked, which revenue channel or what combination is going to get you profitable? And then, in how many years? And also, along with that, how many employees do you have at the moment? And how many employees will it take for you to support scaling to that profitability?
Well, right now it's just the four of us. We're the only real employees, and Sashi, who's our lead engineer, the three of us are volunteers. So we're like I said earlier, super lean. But as we move forward, yes, obviously there's going to have to be a tremendous amount of hiring. There's talk of setting up manufacturing somewhere in the region to build the gateways and the comm stations and such. We don't have a number. It would be in the dozens of people, I think, early on that we would have to bring in. Could you repeat the first question though? There was a few questions in there.
It says, which revenue channel or what combination is going to get you to get profitable?
Oh, well, like I'd said earlier, we need about 1,000 to 1,200 firefighters plugged in to the system to get us to be revenue positive. And that's just through our SaaS model. It doesn't account for any margins on hardware sales, because I think we're going to really probably try and keep those margins as close to zero as possible, just to get more users in. So, and then as we move forward, our goal for 2025 is to capture most of the California and Western states market, because based on early reports, and that's about 164,000 firefighters in the Western states. So, we're looking at different market penetration models. For example, our TAM, which we've created through an organization called the International Forum to Advance First Responder Innovation, that represents 15 countries and 7.5 million firefighters. They have a list of 10 common capability gaps that they have that are pretty common among all firefighters, and our technology is a solution for 8 of those. And so when we start running market penetration analysis, the 15% market penetration in the TAM is we've had to check the numbers because there's just no way, is very profitable, but we're trying to keep our feet on the ground and be more realistic. So that's why we thought, well, let's focus on what we know for sure, which is the western states, which includes, of course, California. So, you know, if we were to capture all, you know, if we were to capture 10% of the western states, you know, in 2025, I mean, we'd have to have, you know, a workforce of, you know, several dozen people at least, to keep up with the data and the manufacturing and, travel. I mean, we're gonna have to have people out traveling and going face to face with regional fire authorities and doing training videos and, you know, marketing. There's a company called Red Flash Group that does first responder marketing. We've already made contact with them. You know, they're not super expensive, but they said when you get to that point, they go, we can handle all your sales and marketing, which would be a tremendous burden off of our shoulders because, you know, we'll be busy with the R&D on the technology. So I don't even know if that answers the question that she was asking, but I think I've got to be close. So
Good, good.
No, that's was kind of part of my question too, as far as your staff, and if you expand out across the United States, how does that look for you? So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good that you have a resource in your back pocket so far.
What's that?
I said it's good that you have a resource in your back pocket thus far.
Oh, yes.
So it looks like we got another question in the chat from our buddy Nestor. What's the customer acquisition cost for those users? I'm guessing to your last answer.
Well, we don't have we don't have a real good handle on the customer acquisition costs because we haven't really spent a whole lot of money acquiring to explore that space because we've been kind of busy doing R&D and outreach to departments and attending trade shows. So we haven't put a whole lot of money into it yet. But it's definitely on our list of things to have in our soon to be established data room. So, but good question. I appreciate that. I
There you go.
got to remember that CAC. So
There we go. All right, cool. Well, I'd like to open the floor one more time for any of our guests that would like to ask a question before we head out of here. Good. Think you killed it, Scott. Think you got him. Yeah.
well, thank you.
All right, cool.
No, I appreciate it. It's the one thing it's sometimes kind of a difficult technology to understand from people that don't that haven't spent time in the firefighter space. The firefighters understand the technology. I don't, when I do presentations, I don't put any finance data in there because it would just be a distraction. So if there's any way that you can think that I could present this to not a non-firefighter crowd, I tried to balance it a little bit between the need and what's out there now and how they're doing it on a dry erase board and how this technology actually, once you put it on a firefighter, this is how it works. And this is the why part. This is the data that's coming in. So if there's something that I missed, something that you guys can think of that would be a better way to lower that level of confusion or unknown, anything that might be unknown. I'd love to hear. I'd love the feedback either now or in an email or something. So
Okay.
always looking at getting better.
Yes, Scott, just so everyone's aware, Scott has been invited to GrowTECH Fest to participate in our Startup Stories presentation. So he's one of our presenters, which we're really excited about. And so we always have our presenters do 1 million cups first. And so I think that's something that maybe, you know, Eva and I could talk more Eva than me, but
Okay.
we could talk with you with as far as, you know, because it will only be 6 minutes. It'll be cut
Yes.
off. And, you know, just going over that, scaling down the presentation a little bit as far as wording, you know, in your presentation and all of that. So,
Yeah.
but I know what you're saying because, you know, you're not going to be talking to an audience of firefighters.
Right.
But
Yes.
you are gonna be talking to, you know, a varied audience, including, investors, coming to the day conference. So, you know, happy to help you with that. I know Eva is too. Eva is in the middle of traveling. She's gonna be traveling down to Sacramento to Fresno State, so I'm sorry that she popped off, but, I think she's in the car. Maybe she had a spot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we would love to talk with you about that, and I know, you know, happy to help you with that and get that prepared. We're also doing a startup pitch competition up here in Chico. It's pretty small, but might be fun for you to come up and just, you know, test the waters with that. Because again,
Okay.
wouldn't be the audience is not gonna be an audience of firefighters. But just kind of, you know, test your slideshow, and, so that'll be September 18th. So, we can send that information if you're available.
Okay.
It's just a one
Wonderful.
night. We're doing a workshop, and then and I'll talk to you, Pat, we're doing a workshop, and then the startup pitch challenge will be after that. So it'll be awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I love what you're doing now.
Most
Really.
definitely, most definitely. I think it's solving a big problem, Scott. So thank you
Love
for
your
that.
website, that you actually have the problem and the solution on your website. Like you
Mhm.
Yeah.
stress that like out there.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this out with a little wrap up. And then from there we'll be good to go. Let's see. I would like to share my screen real quick. Okay, awesome. Yeah, Scott. So Heather was just mentioning that this is recorded, and we'll be like posting this to our YouTube channel afterwards. So if you like to kind of just go over it and check it out after, that'll be fine. Okay.
Wonderful.
We'll make sure we get that information to you. So a big thank you from our 1 Million Cups host or organizers here at Chico, myself and Eva Shepherd. Then a big shout out to our community sponsors, Chico Start, GrowTECH Fest, or GrowTECH, I'm sorry, not GrowTECH Fest, SBDC, Habo, Tri-Counties Bank, Startup Grind, and Global Entrepreneur Network. So a few things kind of in our Chico Start pipeline, which you can find at chicostart.com/events. We got our Grow with Google, which is a webinar on how to improve your resume coming up September 4th from 10 to 11. Then we got our startup pitch that Heather just mentioned, startup pitch workshop and challenge. That'll be September 18th. We'll have our first chunk will be the workshop, and then we'll have a startup challenge afterwards. And then, of course, we want to keep on you guys' radar. GrowTECH Fest coming at the Sierra Nevada Big Room on Wednesday, November 6th. So look forward to seeing you guys there as well. Again, if you would like to kind of just keep up with all the stuff that we have going on here, you can check it out at Chico Start newsletter at chicostart.com. And just want to end out with a nice little quote I found from Jeff Bezos saying, "I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that, but I knew the one thing I might regret is not trying." So with that being said, Scott, again, I think you're epitome of this quote as well. Just keep going hard, and we're glad that you came out to see us. Hope to see you in the future. And yeah, everyone have a good one.
Thank you very much.